My husband said, "My ex is just a friend, so I invited her to our anniversary dinner." I smiled and said, "Of course." Then I invited her new boyfriend and watched the sparks fly. You know, if you'd told me 5 years ago that I'd be sitting at a white linen tablecloth restaurant watching my husband's ex-girlfriend swirl wine and laugh at his jokes on our anniversary, I would have laughed in your face. But here we are. Life has a way of serving up the most unexpected courses, and sometimes you just have to take a bite and see what happens. Let me back up. My name is Priya. I'm 34, and I've been married to Arjun for 4 years. We met in the most cliché way possible, at a friend's wedding, where he spilled red wine on my dress and spent the rest of the night apologizing. He was charming, funny, and a little bit awkward, which I found endearing. We dated for 2 years before tying the knot in a whirlwind of family, friends, and far too many flower arrangements. Arjun is the kind of man who believes in the best in people. He's the guy who still calls his college friends every week, who remembers birthdays, who can't say no to a favor. He's also the guy who, for reasons I still don't fully understand, has remained close friends with his ex, Ria. Ria. Even her name sounds like a sigh. She's tall, elegant, with a laugh that fills a room and a confidence that borders on intimidating. They dated for 3 years in college, broke up amicably, or so I was told, and have stayed in touch ever since. I've met her a handful of times at group gatherings, and she's always been perfectly pleasant. Too pleasant, maybe. The kind of pleasant that makes you wonder what's simmering beneath the surface. So, when Arjun told me, a week before our anniversary, that he'd invited Ria to join us for dinner, I felt that familiar twinge of unease. He said it so casually, like he was inviting a coworker or a distant cousin. "She's just a friend, Priya. You know that. Besides, she's in town for a conference, and it would be rude not to include her." I could have argued. I could have told him how weird it felt, how our anniversary should be about us, not about revisiting old flames. But instead, I smiled. "Of course," I said. "The more, the merrier." But here's the thing about me. I don't like to be blindsided. If there's going to be a surprise at my anniversary dinner, I'd rather be the one holding the confetti. So, I did a little digging. Nothing too invasive. Just a quick scroll through Ria's social media. That's when I saw him. Tall, athletic, with a mischievous grin and arms wrapped around Ria in photo after photo. His name was Kabir, and according to her latest post, they'd been dating for 6 months. I stared at the screen, a plan forming in my mind. If Arjun wanted to play the just friends card, I could play it too. I sent Ria a message, casual and friendly. "Hey, Arjun mentioned you're in town. Would love for you to bring Kabir to dinner if he's free. It'll be fun to catch up." She replied almost instantly. "That sounds great. Kabir would love to join. See you both soon." I didn't tell Arjun. I wanted to see his face when Ria walked in with her new boyfriend. I wanted to see if just friends still felt so innocent when the tables were turned. The night of our anniversary, I wore my favorite red dress. The one Arjun always says makes me look like I'm about to conquer the world. We arrived at the restaurant a few minutes early, and Arjun was in high spirits, chatting about work, about the new project he was leading, about how nice it would be to see Ria again. "She's always been such a good friend," he said, pouring me a glass of wine. "I'm glad you're okay with her coming." I smiled, swirling my glass. "Of course. I'm looking forward to it." A few minutes later, I saw Ria walk in, her arm linked with Kabir's. She looked radiant, her hair swept up, her eyes sparkling. Kabir was just as handsome in person with an easy confidence that made him instantly likable. Arjun's face was a study in surprise. "Oh, Kabir, I didn't know you'd be joining us." Riya laughed, a little too brightly. "Priya invited him. I hope that's okay?" "Of course," Arjun said, recovering quickly. "The more, the merrier." We sat down, the four of us, and for a while, everything was perfectly civil. We talked about work, about travel, about the latest movies. Kabir was charming, telling stories about his job as a sports physiotherapist, making us all laugh with tales of overconfident athletes and bizarre injuries. But beneath the surface, I could feel the tension. Riya kept glancing at Arjun, her laughter a little too loud, her stories a little too pointed. Arjun, for his part, seemed determined to prove how comfortable he was, asking Kabir about his favorite cricket teams, about his plans with Riya, about how they met. It was Kabir who finally broke the ice. "So, how do you all know each other?" he asked, looking from me to Arjun to Riya. Arjun hesitated, just for a second. "Riya and I went to college together. We've been friends for a long time." Kabir grinned. "Friends, huh?" That's what Riya said, but I always wondered if there was more to the story. Riya blushed, waving her hand dismissively. "Oh, it was ages ago. We're just friends now." I caught Arjun's eye, raising an eyebrow. He smiled, a little sheepishly. The conversation moved on, but the mood had shifted. There was an undercurrent now, a sense that everyone was waiting for the other shoe to drop. After the main course, Riya excused herself to the restroom, and Kabir followed a few minutes later. Arjun leaned in, lowering his voice. "I didn't know Kabir was coming." I shrugged, keeping my tone light. "I thought it would be nice. You said Riya's just a friend, and I figured it would be fun to meet her boyfriend." Arjun looked at me, searching my face for something. "Are you okay with this?" "Really?" I smiled, reaching across the table to squeeze his hand. "Of course. I trust you." He relaxed, but I could see the wheels turning in his head. When Riya and Kabir returned, dessert had arrived, chocolate lava cake, Arjun's favorite. We dug in, the conversation turning to travel plans and future dreams. Kabir mentioned a trip he and Riya were planning to Bali, and Riya's eyes lit up as she described the beaches, the food, the sunsets. Arjun listened, nodding, but I could see the flicker of something in his eyes. Regret? Jealousy? Maybe just nostalgia. As the evening wound down, Kabir raised his glass. To old friends and new adventures. We all clinked glasses, the moment hanging in the air. When the bill arrived, Arjun reached for it, but Kabir insisted on splitting it. "It's only fair," he said, smiling at me. "After all, we're all friends here." We said our goodbyes in the parking lot, Riya hugging Arjun a little too tightly, Kabir shaking his hand with a knowing smile. As they walked away, Arjun turned to me, his expression unreadable. "That was interesting," he said. I laughed, looping my arm through his. "Happy anniversary, darling." Here's to many more surprises. The drive home was quiet at first. The city lights flickered past the window, and I could feel Arjun glancing at me every so often, as if searching for a clue to how I really felt. I let the silence stretch, letting him stew in his own thoughts for a while. Sometimes, the best way to get someone to talk is to say nothing at all. Finally, he cleared his throat. "So, what did you think of Kabir?" I smiled, keeping my eyes on the road ahead. "He seems nice. Confident, funny. Riya looks happy with him." Arjun nodded, drumming his fingers on his knee. "Yeah, I guess she does." I waited, letting the moment hang. He shifted in his seat, clearly uncomfortable. "Did you know she was bringing him?" I turned to look at him, my expression innocent. Of course. I invited him. I thought it would be good for you to see Ria moving on too. He blinked, caught off guard. You invited him? I nodded. You said Ria was just a friend. I figured it would be nice to meet her boyfriend. Besides, it's our anniversary. Why not make it a celebration? He was quiet for a moment, then let out a soft laugh. You're something else, Priya. I shrugged, a small smile playing on my lips. I just wanted to make sure everyone felt included. He reached over and squeezed my hand. You're amazing, you know that? I squeezed back, but inside, I was still turning over the events of the evening. There was something about the way Ria had looked at Arjun, the way she'd laughed a little too loudly at his jokes, the way she'd touched his arm when she thought I wasn't looking. And there was something about the way Arjun had watched her too, a flicker of old memories maybe, or just the ghost of what might have been. When we got home, I kicked off my heels and flopped onto the couch, letting out a long sigh. Arjun sat beside me, loosening his tie. Do you ever think about the past? He asked suddenly, his voice soft. I looked at him, surprised by the question. Sometimes. Don't you? He nodded, staring at his hands. Yeah. Ria and I, we had a lot of history, but it's over. I chose you. I love you. I reached over and brushed a strand of hair from his forehead. I know. And I love you too. But you have to admit, tonight was a little weird. He laughed, the tension breaking. Yeah, it was. I didn't expect Kabir to be there. I grinned. Surprise. He shook his head, smiling. You're full of surprises. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, the weight of the evening slowly lifting. I thought about Ria and Kabir, about the way they'd looked at each other, about the way Ria had tried to insert herself into our celebration. I wondered if she was really as happy as she seemed, or if she was still holding on to something from the past. The next morning, I woke up to a message from Ria. Thanks for inviting Kabir. He had a great time. Hope we didn't crash your anniversary. I stared at the message for a moment, then typed back, not at all. It was fun. You two make a great couple. She replied with a string of heart emojis and a photo of her and Kabir at the restaurant, both of them beaming. I showed the message to Arjun, who smiled. See? Just friends, I nodded, but I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story. Maybe it was just my imagination, or maybe it was the way Ria had looked at Arjun when she thought no one was watching. A few days later, I ran into Ria at a coffee shop. She was alone, scrolling through her phone, a half-finished latte in front of her. I hesitated for a moment, then walked over. Hey, Ria. She looked up, surprised, then smiled. Priya. Sit, please. I slid into the seat across from her, studying her face. She looked tired, the circles under her eyes more pronounced than they'd been at dinner. How are you? I asked. She shrugged, stirring her coffee. I'm okay. Work's been crazy. Kabir's been traveling a lot for his job. You know how it is. I nodded, waiting. She looked at me, her eyes searching. Did you have a good anniversary? I smiled. It was memorable. She laughed, a little too loudly. Yeah, I guess it was. We sat in silence for a moment, the noise of the cafe swirling around us. Can I ask you something? She said suddenly. Of course. Do you ever worry about the past? About Arjun and me? I met her gaze, steady and calm. No. I trust him. And I trust myself. She nodded, looking down at her coffee. You're lucky. I wish I could say the same about Kabir sometimes. I frowned. Is everything okay? She hesitated, then shook her head. It's just, relationships are hard, you know? Sometimes I wonder if we're really as happy as we pretend to be. I reached across the table, squeezing her hand. No one's life is perfect, Ria. We all have our doubts. She smiled, her eyes shining with unshed tears. Thanks, Priya. You're a good friend. I squeezed her hand again, then stood. Take care of yourself, okay? She nodded, and I walked out of the cafe, my mind spinning. That night, I told Arjun about the conversation. He listened quietly, then pulled me into his arms. I'm glad you trust me, he whispered. I do, I said, and I meant it. But as I lay in bed that night, I couldn't help but wonder what would have happened if things had been different. If Arjun had chosen Ria, or if I had never invited Kabir. Life is full of what-ifs, but in the end, all we can do is trust the choices we've made. The next week, Arjun and I went out for dinner. Just the two of us this time. We laughed, we talked, we reminisced about our wedding, about the early days of our relationship, about all the little moments that had brought us to this point. As we walked home, hand in hand, I realized that the past didn't matter as much as I thought it did. What mattered was the life we were building together, the trust we shared, the love that had weathered every storm. And as we climbed into bed that night, I whispered, Happy anniversary, Arjun. He smiled, pulling me close. Happy anniversary, Priya. Here's to many more. A few days after our quiet dinner, life returned to its usual rhythm. Work, errands, the gentle chaos of daily routines. But something had shifted between Arjun and me, something subtle, like the way sunlight changes after a summer storm. We were a little more open, a little more honest, a little more aware of the invisible threads that tie two people together. One evening, as I was folding laundry, my phone buzzed with a message from Kabir. It was unexpected, and for a moment, I hesitated before opening it. Hey, Priya, just wanted to say thanks for including me at dinner. Ria told me you reached out. It meant a lot to her, and to me. Hope we didn't make things awkward, I smiled, typing back. Not at all. It was good to meet you. You and Ria seem happy together, he replied almost instantly. We are, most days. Relationships are complicated, right? Anyway, if you and Arjun ever want to double date, let us know. I put my phone down, thinking about how strange and wonderful life could be. Here we were, 4 people with tangled histories, trying to move forward, trying to be adults, trying to make sense of the past without letting it poison the present. That weekend, Arjun and I went to visit his parents. Over chai and samosas, his mother asked about our anniversary. Did you do anything special? She asked, her eyes twinkling. I glanced at Arjun, who grinned. We had dinner with some friends. It was eventful. His father laughed. Eventful is good. Keeps things interesting. Later, as we walked in the garden, Arjun slipped his hand into mine. You know, I was nervous about inviting Ria. I didn't want you to feel uncomfortable. I stopped, turning to face him. Why did you invite her, Arjun? Really? He looked away, his jaw tightening. I guess I wanted to prove to myself that the past was really over, that I could be friends with her and not feel anything, that I could show you and myself that you're the one I chose. I reached up, cupping his face in my hands. You don't have to prove anything to me. I know you love me, but you have to be honest, with me and with yourself. He nodded, his eyes shining. I will. I promise. We stood there for a moment, the scent of jasmine in the air, the world quiet around us. In that moment, I realized that trust isn't something you earn once and keep forever. It's something you build, day by day, choice by choice, conversation by conversation. A few days later, I got a call from Ria. Her voice was shaky, and I could hear the strain beneath her words. "Priya, can we meet? I need someone to talk to." We met at a small park near her hotel. She looked tired, her usual confidence replaced by uncertainty. We sat on a bench, watching children play on the swings. "I'm sorry if I made things weird at your anniversary," she said quietly. I shook my head. "You didn't. Honestly, I'm glad you came. It forced us all to be honest." She sighed, twisting her hands in her lap. "Kabir and we're having problems. He's great, but sometimes I feel like I'm still living in the past, like I'm chasing something that doesn't exist anymore." I listened, letting her pour out her worries. She talked about her fears, her regrets, the way she sometimes compared Kabir to Arjun, the way she wondered if she'd made the right choices. When she finished, I took her hand. "Ria, we all have ghosts, but you can't let them haunt your future. You have to let go, or you'll never be happy." She nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. "Thank you, Priya. You're stronger than you know." We hugged, and for the first time, I felt a real sense of peace between us. Not rivalry, not jealousy, just two women trying to find their way. That night, I told Arjun about the conversation. He listened, then pulled me close. "You're amazing, you know that?" I laughed. "You keep saying that. Maybe one day I'll believe it." He kissed my forehead. "I already do." As the weeks passed, things settled into a new normal. Ria and Kabir worked through their issues, sometimes together, sometimes apart. Arjun and I grew closer. Our trust deepened by the trials we'd faced. We learned to talk about the hard things, to laugh at the awkward moments, to forgive each other's mistakes. One evening, as we sat on the balcony watching the city lights, Arjun turned to me. "Do you ever regret inviting Kabir?" I shook my head. No, it was the right thing to do. It showed us both that the past doesn't have to control the present. He smiled, pulling me into his arms. "I love you, Priya." More than I ever thought possible. I rested my head on his shoulder, feeling the steady beat of his heart. "I love you too, Arjun. And I always will." Looking back, I realized that our anniversary dinner wasn't just about celebrating another year together. It was about facing our fears, confronting our insecurities, and choosing each other, again and again, every day. Life isn't a fairy tale. It's messy, complicated, full of unexpected twists and turns. But if you're lucky, you find someone who's willing to walk through the chaos with you, hand in hand, heart to heart. So here's to love, to trust, to second chances. Here's to the courage to invite the past to dinner, and the wisdom to know when to let it go. And as I drifted off to sleep that night, I knew that whatever the future held, Arjun and I would face it together. Because in the end, love isn't about never being jealous or never making mistakes. It's about choosing each other every single day, no matter what.